What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the 37th edition of the Tuesday Track Talk podcast featuring your Three Stones pick room. My name is Kellen. I'm your Jackman.
I'm your tire changer Cam.
I'm your gas man, Cam.
Sit back and enjoy what will be a semi-abbreviated episode due to a little bit of scheduling change. We're here on a fine Sunday afternoon post-cup race.
Fine is a picky word.
But no, we're recording on Sunday. We got a little bit of schedule shift that we had mentioned last week, and we'll mention that a little bit more in depth here as we look at the end of the episode. But before we get into this episode on a different week, what do we know, gentlemen?
Went from feeling pretty good yesterday with how some races turned out to disappointed with how today's turned out. We'll just say that.
It's fair enough.
Yeah,
Can't get much of a gut punch than that.
Yeah, for anybody that's not listening, our tire changer's a diehard Blaney fan, so it's
Unfortunately,
kind of an interesting race.
Yeah, it was. And due to the circumstances, we are here immediately post-race to get the
live reaction.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting it. Oh, man.
But no, it was another solid weekend of racing. It felt like Mother Nature got its fair share again.
Almost hindered one of ours as well.
Almost hindered you guys and got World Outlaws in Wisconsin, Beaver Dam. So, hey, might free up another opportunity for us. So that's July 20th. So, what were you going to
July
say?
10th.
July 10th.
July 10th.
July 10th.
That would be the day after the Slinger Nationals.
Yeah, that put myself in a little bit of a, not quite a dilemma, but a opportunity.
Correct.
And keynote of that too, their Old Outlaws will also be at Wilmont that following weekend. So that Friday, Saturday. So
spending
3 days of racing.
Yeah, spending the whole week up here. But yeah, well, should we go ahead and talk about racing like we do every other episode, just with some new content for the week?
Yeah, for sure. And I suppose I should throw the warning out here as well. If you see my eyes wandering upwards, I'm watching High Limit at Butler as well. So
little reschedule from Mother Nature. So, well, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, speak of High Limit, what a great way to transition into the first race recap of the weekend. And Friday night we had High Limit at Lawrenceburg. So I'll kick it to you guys. Let's go ahead and see what you got coming off of a good feature.
When they say 3-story sliders, they mean 3-story sliders. Holy cow! You got some room to play with in those turns.
It was interesting then, just because with the way the track was set up, it had that big berm on the inside too, so you had to kind of be careful when you took your entry to get into either 1 or 3 to go off and sail that slider off. You had to be careful you didn't end up on your lid either.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think obviously the other storyline is coming off of, I don't want to say a tough week. Well, I guess you could say a tough week, but obviously a lot of storylines around Kyle Larson, from the double and how that went last Sunday to his entire waiver situation and yeah, everything surrounding him. So needless to say, I think he's got, now that everything's kind of behind him, the double and all the prep for that, I think he's got a little bit of chip on his shoulder. And he was driving like it this past Friday night, and
did you drive like it a little bit too?
We got some comments on that to be discussed in the NASCAR portion, but obviously, yeah, he was a man on a mission on Friday night. So his sprint car season, his high limit season, really has not met expectations, to say the least. So
Yeah, after
Um,
scoring the win on their opening race at East Bay, I believe. I'm verifying that, but
Yeah, it was East Bay, and the crazy part of that is it was a weekend race that did not count towards the midweek championship in which he's going to run.
well, and he's already missed one race in that midweek championship as well.
Right. So I mean, the feature he did win early in the season was for the other title
Yep.
that High Limit is putting on. So puts you in a little bit of a precarious situation of do you pick and choose? Do you run the whole thing? Do you try to win the title? If you get hot, you can get hot and stay hot, but you got to get there to do it. And ultimately,
No,
this feature might be all it took for him to get hot.
I think we saw that he's just gonna, and we've seen it before. He's just gonna run whatever works with the schedule. I think
Yep.
there's no picking and choosing. The picking and choosing is just what works with the schedule, I think, which is good because you get to see Larson run. I mean, it's the moral of the story of it.
Well, that's what we're here for on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So,
So no, yeah, I mean Larson just shot off right as he basically right at the beginning of the race. And we were talking at Dell's here this past weekend about McFadden, just how they were able to get that quick turnaround from the wreck that he had, which was ended up being that only wreck.
yeah, that was, again, that's a crazy hats off to the dirt racing scene of a car comes off and you've got sweets guys and you've got PPMs guys and you got all these different crews that are standing there, and it's like they've worked together forever. That car stays on the hook. In a minute and a half, they had the front axle and tires changed. They had the front wing changed, and they had a new roof wing on that thing. So it was just like again, it's a testament to those groups and how much they value that competition. But yeah, that was nuts. For a minute and a half, they had all that changed.
I was gonna say too, we witnessed, who was it? We watched this, I think a week or two ago at Kokomo. I think Kellen, you picked him. I think it was maybe Corey Day. Somebody had the
Yeah.
same situation, got into the wall, and they took the whole front axle out, two new tires. And I mean, for you know, pit crews that aren't training weekly for timed stops, it is wildly impressive what these guys can do in such a short amount of time, these sprint car guys. And it is, like you said, it's just super cool that it's obviously different teams, different guys. But when they get in there, when those cars come to pit road, you would feel like those guys train together every week the way they choreograph. These two guys are working on the front, these two guys are working on the top wing, these two guys are getting the front wing, and it's just like 2 minutes and you're back on the track, and it is actually wildly impressive.
Yeah,
And I
that's
know
crazy.
again, and one of the things that we mentioned too at the track was, you mentioned it's like, yeah, we don't really see that in the asphalt scene, which, it can be up for discussion, but I don't think the opportunity is really there to see it in the asphalt scene as well, just because you can't get the quick swap of a lot of those parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. It's not in the spotlight like the dirt wing sprint car scene is. You know, and
Well,
and
the
I'm
dirt
sure
scene,
that
because you've seen it in the late models in the past too.
yeah, and I'm sure on the asphalt scene there's a lot of that that goes on behind the scenes that we just don't see. Um, and you go to any given racetrack, you could have a teammate and or a teammate quote unquote that is there with you, but yeah, it's a more publicized, if you want to say it that
Yeah,
way, on
more
the
noticed.
sprinting. Yeah, it's more in the mainstream, especially with the streaming services.
I think the most recent example that we saw it was at the All Star race when the Hendrick team helped out Stuart Haas seal up their cars for the monsoon and rain that was coming in.
Yeah,
I think
Yep.
that's the most recent example we've seen of it.
I mean, they didn't even have crews at the racetrack, and they were putting their cars away.
Yeah. You see more guys tearing up stuff than you do helping each other out. It's quite frankly.
Yeah, for sure. So,
So
kind of looking at a couple other storylines among the race. like we had mentioned, really McFadden was the only caution. That car rejoined the field. How about PPM? That's kind of a cool deal. Parker Price Miller. He is one of the very only driver crew chiefs in the field, if not on the series and or in a good majority of wing sprint racing. So the little engine that could, as they were kind of talking about, he finishes P3 in an absolute stacked field. So just felt like that was worth a mention to talk about that. But when you look at the rundown of the races, Kyle Larson, Rico Abreu, Parker Price Miller, Brad Sweet, Caleb Henry, Cora Eliason, Tanner Thorson, and Brent Marks round out your top 8 for
Two
that.
comments I was gonna have. Kind of interesting that PPM driver crew chief one and the same. I mean, it's kind of unique to think about it, but one of your guys' favorite drivers is currently doing the same thing in the truck series.
Yeah,
We learned a little bit about that this weekend too.
I mean, obviously, Ty Majeski is supposedly the crew chief on his truck, but sounds
Or
like you guys
has.
learned some.
He's been heavily involved in the setup of his trucks.
Yeah, the engineering side of things.
But no, the last final note I was going to throw in there is Rico Abreu, another solid run. I
Yeah.
think that team is finally starting to find its footing and coming off that win, a week or so ago, and then another solid run. I think Rico will find that team's going to start finding their footing, and you're going to start seeing him running up front a lot more. So,
And now, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
no, I was just going to say this series is going to get fun as we get into this summer stretch here, where we start racing, 3 nights a weekend, and then you sprinkle in a weekday show. This series down the stretch here, the point standings is going to be a lot of fun to follow.
He mentioned in his interview like they're hitting the quarter bit of adjustments that they need in order for that car to run good. And he admitted that he wasn't running very good at this beginning of the year, and how much. And I made this point at the beginning when he committed to the High Limit Series was this is really the first touring series that he's joining in a long time at least. So you have to get used to the touring aspect and just staying in contention for a lot of these races where Sweet, he's not going out and winning every weekend, but he's staying up in that top 5, top 3 in order to keep himself in points contention. Then you saw a little bit with Tyler Courtney as well, who had a 14th place finish. He starts stringing those wins along, and then you start seeing him climb up in that point standings as well.
And that's where Rico is he's been a force to reckon with in the dirt sprint car scene, but where does Rico love to run? Eldora. Where does he love to run? Knoxville. He loves a certain handful of tracks, as any driver does. You can't fault him for that.
Yep.
But when you go to a track for the first time, you got to go, okay, when I hot lap and I run 3 single laps, what do I need for qualifying? It just exacerbates those changes very quickly. Where when you go to Eldora or Knoxville or insert favorite racetrack, you, for the most part, you're going to be in the ballpark when you unload because you know how they're going to prep the track or the variables that go into it with the weather or all that other stuff. So he's might be starting to figure out this showing up to a place for the first time and going, okay, this is what I feel, this is what I need. Because unlike the asphalt scene, those guys only get 3 laps to hot lap, and some of them are not even green for a minute and a half, and you go, okay, so what do I need for qualifying? So
yeah,
it definitely is. Like you said, it amplifies it when you don't have a baseline from your notebook when you show up to a track, and then to your point, too, Con, that's wildly underrated. That I think that's what separates the good from the great drivers in any series is the ability to diagnose and solve literally, like you said, in less than a minute. You're only on track for less than a minute, and you got to figure out what's wrong with your car and what it needs to be able to get faster. So, yeah, Rico's going to be Rico's going to have something to say down the stretch. So it's going to be a fun series to follow.
Yeah.
It feels like they race pretty much every day of the week.
Pretty damn
Really.
close at this rate.
Some
I
Thursdays,
forget how
some
many races they had total on their schedule.
I think it was mid-60s.
It's a nice little tractor race tonight. Actually.
59 dates is what they had on their right as you get on the first page here.
Van Grohl, as you're kind of thumbing back and forth, take note. Because this is a little bit kind of what Davenport feels like, this place.
Oh, Butler.
Yeah. No walls. I mean, you're not in the middle of nowhere, but there's no walls. It's just it's elbows up from the get-go.
Yeah.
So, well, that kind of wraps up the high limit discussion. Everything from points battles to drivers to the race we had on this past Friday night at Lawrenceburg. So, again, they're going to have a hell of a points battle coming down the stretch. So, if you're looking to catch any of that action, Flow Racing's your place to go. And when we get to our race previews, if you don't have Flow this weekend alone pays for it. So
I was going to say, other note on the high limit is you'll probably touch on it too. But if you don't have the bell turned on for our YouTube channel, you're going to want to turn it on this week. We're going to be bringing some brand new segment to the channel, and luckily it's going to be a high limit race. It's going to be the first race that we're going to be I don't want to say it's going to be a test run, but it's going to be the first one that we're going to publish. So turn your bell on.
Oh, you
we
were just
coming at you
talking.
with new content this week, and high limit is going to be fortunately going to be the first one.
You were just talking about no walls at this place. Well, it almost bit one of the guys. We got one on his side already in high
Yep.
limit.
Oh yeah. Well, because this is what we like to do, we love to cover a little bit of everything. We go from dirt, wing sprint cars to asphalt super late models. Saturday night, we had the Alive for 5 super late model series at Dell's Raceway Park for the Trickle 99 lap super late model feature. So, Van Grohl, you were there. I'm going to go ahead and just let you rip your initial thoughts and reactions and the things that we had discussed.
Well, first, I was gonna say, first off, we almost didn't get it to go because we were fighting rain all morning, basically, in the early part of the afternoon. So we were having to fight that. But luckily, the rain passed, stayed overcast the entire night. We were actually able to get the show in. But with that rain that came in, it was a bit of a cold front. So it wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold throughout the entire night. And that changed things a little bit as the racing went on and went on. Abbreviated practice. So kind of like we were talking about high limits, they had a little bit of abbreviated practice. So you had to be set up right out of the gate, basically, before even qualifying came in. And it's no matter what, still a tough qualifying session to lock yourself in when they're only taking the top 16 to start with out of 28 cars.
Yeah, it was I left here and it rained all the way until I got off the interstate and I was 3 miles from the racetrack. And it quit raining and we were just fortunate enough to get that show in.
Yep.
So,
Yep, for sure.
yeah, as we kind of looked down the get-go or looked on the list here, I mean, what it comes down to is a couple of comers and goers in practice, but when we really look at the feature racing, I mean, the gloves are off from the get-go.
And especially with how the invert went, it was 4 plus the roll, and they only rolled a 2. So you only had the top 6 cars get inverted. So you had your fast guys up at the front right out of the gate.
Yeah, you had somebody like Casey Johnson in the front row.
Yep.
That's a tough one. You got Gabe was in row 2 or 3.
The
The third
2.
yeah. So you had him. You had a lot of fast cars in your top 6 that you're going. somebody from the back, if they're going to get it done, they're going to have to not only go through the field, but they're going to have to go through somebody like Casey Johnson, who started on the front row.
Yep.
But no, it didn't take long. We had our first caution, that's for sure.
Poor Farrell, Ryan Farrell.
He
Just can't catch a
again,
break.
we were walking around the pits before racing started, and Devoy is always parked in his same spot all the time. And we made our loop and we come over, and we're glad to see Devoy's back after he got wrecked at Jefferson again.
Yep.
And we kind of go, Devoy's just having that Landon Huffman type year where he can't have anything go his way and it's not his own doing. Gabe Summers blows up in front of him, puts a rear clip on the car. There's nothing you can do about it. Goes to Jefferson, gets caught up in the mess at Jefferson.
Everybody piles up in front of him.
There were 7 cars in that mess, and he had nothing to do with it. Wrong place, wrong time. So, good to see him get in there and duke it out and actually get to finish a feature.
Yeah.
As somebody who doesn't run a ton, and he pretty much picks and chooses, and he likes the Dells, so that's where he likes to run. But good to see him finally get through a feature after the wild,
disastrous start of the year.
Yeah, correct. That have been the start of the year for him. So, yeah, good for him. But Ryan Farrell, quick qualifier, just
and that took out another guy that we were thinking was going to be really strong early on too, in Vandergeest, Levon Vandergeest. He was good in practice, didn't quite get the qualifying run that he needed, so he missed the invert, and just the same scenario, just nowhere to go.
Checked up, and that was lap what, 4? 3?
4. Yep.
And he was done. That was it for that.
That entire nose was just junk.
They were, by the time we got in the pits after the races, we got in, they had the car loaded up and they were ready to pull out.
By the time we made our lap back, they were already gone.
Yeah. So they had said we have had enough for the day. Brian Reckerberger, we've been kind of following closely, especially in the truck series. He brought out the Macville Motorsports Super Late model. Engine issues for him, unfortunately, qualified 11th, got himself in the show right out of the gate. No oil pressure, which is usually never good.
Not for a motor.
Not for your power plant. So I think he made 11 laps, they said. So going back to Ryan Farrell, and he's got a dancing partner in this one. He made his way back through the field.
Yep.
Yeah, him and Jeff Storm, Jeff Storm as well.
A lot of the restarts helped.
Yeah. The choose cone was scary in certain points. I don't remember who I was listening to. Somebody mid pack, and they go one, they're counting them, and they go, wait, I had to look at that again. I thought it was wrong. He goes, that was a weird cone. So it's guys doing some crazy stuff on the cones too.
Well, the thing with that too is, I mean, we saw this especially as the race went on, the later part of the race. Top 3 were taking the bottom, so 4th place was jumping up, which most of the time was Fredrickson. Was jumping up to that top to start on the top of the outside row.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. The outside was not there.
Yeah.
Usually you can hold your own for a little bit, but that outside was just not there this last night.
Yeah. So, yeah, I kind of regrouped them fairly often, but Jeff Storm and Farrell, they both went back to the pits and ended up making their way back through. And they,
I was gonna say that I wouldn't. Not that you ever wish it on a show, but almost like the appetizer before the big show. You can almost get 2 shows in. Some nights when you go to the track and you get an LCQ.
Yeah.
With some of these guys, with some of these bigger names that miss it, I mean, you almost are getting. I mean, that's worth the price of admission at some of these tracks. Just watching the LCQ races.
I mean, there's
one.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say a fair share of big names that were not locked in and racing their tail off just to make the show.
I mean, there's two races that come to mind right out of the gate that are going to be bona fide last chance qualifiers to start with: Slinger Nationals and Dixieland at Kaukauna.
Yep.
Maybe this year at the beginning of the year at Madison.
Yep. But I mean, even then, so when you get to your talks about your last chances, even for this one, Dalton Zier, Jordan DeVoy,
Jeff Storm,
Jeff Storm, Riley Stenjum.
Cody King.
That was a hell of a last chance alone.
Yeah.
So we had some heavy hitters in that were just trying to find their way in. So that's crazy. But as for the race results itself, a few more cautions than I guess I kind of anticipated, but
A lot of single car spins, single
Yeah.
and 2-car deals.
yeah. Just guys were not given an inch.
No.
They just, if there was a hole, they were going to fill it. So that was good racing though. I mean, you could even see finally, it felt like, because it didn't in April because it's so cold, but it finally felt like that bottom groove, and you could see it finally rubbered in.
Yeah.
And get on a run that you could see it really finally start to rubber in on that concrete.
Because something that we've been talking about, I mean, we touched on briefly, but I think it's, again, we're getting later in the part of the year. Are we starting to see the T1 and T2 tires finally kind of starting to settle in, and the guys are starting to figure these tires out?
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
a few more races under our belts with these new tires.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's where even in qualifying, your fastest qualifiers, most of them are guys that went out early.
Yep.
So that was kind of opposite of what we had seen in April, which again, it was cold in April, but another curveball in terms of figuring out this new tire for guys that haven't run it a ton yet.
And for qualifying setup like that, it's the later, or it's the earlier you register for the race, the later out you go in qualifying.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So we'll go ahead and take an actual look at the race results. So Gabe Summers gets it done. He was
Dominant.
in a class of his own.
I think
mean,
I saw
really-
the stat from his page. It was he led 81 and 99 laps.
I mean, there really was the only chance anyone really had at him was restarts after cautions. He was just gone.
Yep.
But Gabe Summers, Ty Fredrickson, Max Kaler, Casey Johnson, Tristan Swanson, Ryan Farrell, Bryce Miller, Jordan DeVoy, Jeff Storm, Jesse Bernhagen round out your top 10.
Good run for Kaler and good run for Swanson.
Yeah. Swanson was a good surprise.
Yep.
He started row 2, I believe.
Yes.
Started inside or outside of row 2.
Just stayed there.
Yeah. Track position was good for him, but Bryce Miller, another good showing in his second run in the super late model.
Yep.
So
Yep,
that's
for
cool
sure.
to see.
Got a lot of laps around there.
Hopefully we can see him more often.
Here's ready for a really stupid question. Bangro, what race were you at Sands last weekend?
I was at the it was a track special. It was the Trickle 99 at Sands.
Dude, my mind was in a blender over here. I'm going, bro, we just had a Trickle 99.
Yep. Nope. It was another Trickle 99.
You know,
Okay. All right. So it wasn't quite as
We'll
stupid
probably,
as a question as I
and I
thought it
still
was
think
gonna
there's
be.
another Trickle 99 or something like that later this year too. I just don't remember which one it is.
Jeez, I was like, dude, we just talked about a Trickle 99.
Yep. Nope. 100%.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. But
This one obviously I'm assuming unique because the last week is 333s, correct?
No, that was a straight. Well, it was supposed to be a straight 99.
Got it. Okay.
Rain obviously did its thing last weekend, which that was a whole nother discussion in its own right. No, there is another Trickle 99. Lacrosse.
Cross.
They do their
Yes.
Trickle 99.
that's
Isn't that one
333
That's
stages?
the 333s. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep. No, so
Wyndham's smoking in the high limit, and he's just got her matted to the floor.
yeah. Last weekend was a track special. This one was part of the Live for Five races at the Dells.
Got it. Okay.
Same name, different series per se.
Yep. And
Got it.
obviously racing and Dick Trickle. You can't talk about racing in Wisconsin without Dick Trickle. So
Yeah, absolutely.
one more
Get your
thing, I'm
shirt
gonna
out.
switch it. What's that?
Should get your favorite shirt out.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'll bring that one up later in the year
That'll be an
when it's
off-season,
fitting.
off-season
Maybe,
topic.
yeah. Uh what I'm gonna throw it back to you, Kellen. You had another opportunity at a burger rankings, and actually you were
Oh,
at
yeah.
second go around with the Dells. What were your findings?
The second go around was the first one was good. The first one, I would be like, if you said I'm going to the racetrack at the Dells, I'd go, you have to get a cheeseburger. This time around, when you go through there, if there's two of them there, you get two. This one was that good. It now when we went through, crowd was a little bit lighter. They weren't
Yep.
moving as many burgers. So Cam, we talked about this before. What does that cheeseburger need? It's gotta be in the foil wrap and it's gotta be under the heat lamp. We were 2 for 2 on that, and you open it up, the burger, solid. Good thick burger, cheese was melted to the plastic. You open it up, there's a little burn on the edge. That thing got an 8.8. So that's where the
It's gotta,
cheeseburger came in.
it's gotta be up there.
Yeah, Madison was a 9.1, so that's where we're at. It's
Jesus, a 9.1. We
I
gotta
think
check
I
the.
think your rankings, if I remember correctly, I think it goes Madison, Dells 2, and then Dells 1.
yeah, that too. Yeah. But
We
yeah,
need to get
and
some harsher standards here, because hitting a
no,
9.1 on the first burger, like the second
dude,
burger of the year,
you have no idea.
seems.
You don't know. So I'm gonna tell you what, I did expand my horizons a little
Yep,
bit.
I was just gonna mention we went through a second run through the concession
Nope.
stands.
Oh
We
boy.
went through a second time. Well, the first time I got a cheeseburger and a brat. So
How's the brat?
the brat was decent. It was a little heavy on the seasoning, and that's not the track's fault. That's just wherever they get them from.
Okay.
So it was a little heavy, a little strong on the Italian seasoning, I think. I think that's what that was. It was good, grilled to perfection. It just had a little bit more punch than what I was expecting. So
Personal preference.
personal preference, take it or leave it. If you like a little more flavor in them, that's gonna be that's your place to go. So it was solid. It was good. Again, wouldn't hesitate to go get another one. Um, but I'll tell you what, the grand finale, the chicken tenders. The chicken tenders were freaking incredible.
You took that first bite as we were walking back to the stands,
And
and your eyes just
I was holding that chicken tender. You know, they come in little baskets underneath the heat lamp. They come in a little boat, and they're all set in there. And I grabbed the first one. I bit like the first one off. We bit like half it off. And I just stood there and I shook it. And I'm like, wow, that was freaking good. So tried something a little different. Still wasn't. I had my
you
I had my I had
you
a
were
cup of
eyeing the
coffee on the
taco
ride up.
truck.
I did, but I had a cup of coffee on the ride up, and my stomach was not uneasy, but I wasn't really
You
certain.
weren't prepared for the taco truck.
If I'm better prepared the next trip, I'll do it. So I wasn't in full tilt ready to go for that. But honestly, food would not be shy for a single second at that place.
The
Excellent.
only, the only one that I didn't dip into, and obviously you and my grandfather were joking around with this, were the fried donut holes.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, you don't touch
He went for
those.
him.
Grandpa did. Yeah, he loves them.
Yep.
He loves
He
them.
loved
Go
him.
gets them where if there's a track that's got them. Lacrosse, he gets them at Lacrosse. He gets them at Kakana, and you'll get them at the Dells. But nope, you won't see me touch those.
Yep.
Zero, zero
He
shot. But it's
so
also
we
one of
made
those
that
things that, like, it's like Taco Bell. Like, if you eat them on the regular, your system will adjust.
but
You eat enough
yeah,
donut holes, the body will figure it out.
he had to stop at the little Mexican shack there to get them. He stopped. He goes, I gotta get a donut holes quick. I go, oh, sounds good. I'm going down to the turn one pit bar. I had to get myself a ice cold refreshment.
You had
for
to
the
fill your can koozie up with something.
Yeah, I bought a can koozie. Well, you can't buy a can koozie, they'll put something in it. So I had to get myself an ice cold 16-ounce pint to go in there. But no, food's excellent. So I would definitely not shy away from that bad boy. So that kind of wraps up the Dells. Good racing. Glad to get it in. Weather turned out to be good. So great little deal there for Alive for 5 race number 2 in the Trickle 99. The next one, we're going to kind of jump into our 5 minutes of fun facts in the racing. 5 minutes is ambiguous, but our fun facts for the week. So, Cam, I'll kick it to you for the first one. What do you got?
I'll just start it off. Big news in NASCAR. We were talking about it last week. Had a heavy debate on it on last week's episode. Obviously with the SHR news, who's going to get a charter and who's in the running for one. And Front Row Motorsports Front Row Racing did not mess around. And news was broke. I think it was already Tuesday.
It wasn't very long after
Or
SHR had
Wednesday,
their deal.
whenever we recorded.
SHR was Tuesday. I think Front Row announced Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. So it wasn't long. And Front Row got their checkbook out, got involved, and now we're gonna let the speculation begin on who's gonna fill those 2 seats. I think it's safe to say Todd Gilliland is giving himself. He's done enough this year to give himself another year with
Oh
that
yeah,
team. But
yeah.
we got 2 more seats to fill, obviously with McDowell out, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who fills those seats.
Real quick, I want to touch on that real quick. Do you see McDowell's comments yesterday after qualifying about that whole Front Row deal? I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of Front Row doesn't need me anymore to get any better than where they're at. So he's basically saying that Front Row can do a lot better without me than they can with me there.
Got it.
So he's still giving some high praise to what will be his former team.
So that's what I was gonna say is this split is not going rough.
No. Nope.
They're mutually respective of each other. Spire is thankful for what McDowell's done. McDowell is gonna praise that seat and knows whoever drives that car was getting into good stuff and they will be competitive.
Yep.
So,
and especially again with the progress that Front Row has made to become a tier A or tier 1 team with Ford as well.
that's honestly that's refreshing to see. You know, a lot of times you see it's a mutual parting of ways. We wish them the best of luck in their next adventure, and that's all you ever hear of it.
Or eventually you hear the rough side from one party, and
yeah, but no, that's good to see, and you know, and maybe McDowell just needed a change. Maybe he just felt like the timing was right with the opportunity. So, who knows? All right. Well, who's got fun fact number 2?
Well, I'll take number 3.
All right. Well, I got number 2. Cade Dillard. Life-changing money, as they would say in the interview. Cade Dillard is your $100,001 the big deal modified winner at Mississippi Thunder. So he's pretty much been lights out since he was there. His qualifying night, he was quick time. He won his qualifying night feature from 7th. Pretty much dominated in that Cade Dillard race car. So chassis that he builds or tweaks in some fashion. So he cashed a big payday. So we'll see if that momentum carries over into any of his World of Outlaws late models adventures. But yeah, Cade Dillard, big payday. So, Van Grohl, you're down to number 3.
Yeah, so IndyCar raced earlier today as well in the streets of Detroit, and you went from a very exciting Indy 500 last week to we'll call it a rough race at the streets of Detroit. A lot of cautions, a lot of dive bombs on guys. Penalties were handed out like they do in hockey. Everybody was in the penalty box. Um, just it was a rough one, to say the least. The Indy 500 hangover continues on. Joseph Newgarden did not have a great run. He ended up having a couple penalties to serve. Um, yeah, just rough overall. But Scott Dixon ends up getting the win there. Playing Mr. Fuel strategy again, like he always seems to do, and he continues to close in on the all-time wins record in IndyCar, trying to catch AJ Foyt.
Sweet. Cam? You got
I'll call it out, but I'm pretty sure Van Grohl's repping his shirt. SV, yeah, saw that.
That's the high. That's the high from Saturday that we're hitting on.
Yeah, obviously, Shane Van Gisbergen with Collie gets the Xfinity win at Portland. So obviously he made a name on the NASCAR scene almost a year ago at the Chicago Street Race when he stepped in and won it. And obviously he's been running that Colleague car, that Colleague 97. And it's a well-known fact that Colleague is a road course team with the drivers they got in that Xfinity team. So when they show up to a road course, you expect them to be competing for wins. And obviously SVG gets his first Xfinity win. Pretty sweet burnout that he was doing on the last lap, kind of I don't know, Tokyo Drift burnout style, kind of all around the track. So super cool for him, and obviously Chris Rice and Matt Colleague and those guys are pretty amped up. I don't know if you saw any of the videos of them guys on the box after he won, but yeah, I think just overall for that team or for that, I guess, organization, Cup Xfinity needed something to go right, and hopefully a win in Xfinity can jumpstart the Xfinity program, get them going in the right direction, and maybe a little bit for the Cup. So yeah, SVG gets his first win at Portland Road Course. So
gets himself in playoffs.
Yep.
Bingo.
So not only did he win, now he's won in NASCAR's top 2 series. He's also got himself in the playoffs where the NASCAR deal was a one-off. So
speaking of those 2 wins, I forget who made the comment, but somebody made a comment of, we got to get him in a truck, see if he could break the record for shortest time to get the 3 wins in the 3 series.
Oh God, I wouldn't be surprised.
Go to road course and throw him in it. He would
have a good chance.
Inspire's got a rotating truck.
Yep.
But kind of the last little fun one here. Fun one. Take it or leave it. This has been hotly debated. Even the guys on the Fox set today for the race got a little heated about this conversation. But the Kyle Larson waiver update. The update is we have no update.
Which is scary.
So what it comes down to is now is the debate of where do we stand on the waiver? Where do you individually stand on the waiver scenario for Kyle Larson?
I want to point something out here before we get too far. So I'm on NASCAR.com right now. I'm looking at their playoff points standings. And we have Kyle Larson currently in the playoffs. That has him listed as a playoff driver. So
okay.
Throwing that out there right now.
Got it. So here's what I'm going to say. I listened to the pre-race today. Kyle Busch chose to run an Xfinity race. Got hurt, missed 8 races, won the championship that year. Who was the other one? It was Kyle Busch. Oh, Chase Elliott. Chose to get on a skiboard or snowboard. Skiing, snowboarding, whatever it was.
Snowboard.
Decided that was cool. Missed a handful of races. got a waiver.
I'd assume
NASCAR.
same situation with Bowman last year.
Got in a sprint car, hurt his back. Yep.
NASCAR. We're gonna kind of see where your allegiance stands here.
They got
Kyle Larson.
themselves in a corner.
Kyle
They've
Larson
got them-
chose to go run the Indy 500.
And that's why I think you're getting it's really, I don't see, I feel like it's black and white. You know, a lot of the guys that are coming across, I guess there's a few that are wishy-washy, but you saw, I think it was Bubba Wallace that said he made a choice and like just left it at that. Basically saying like he shouldn't get a waiver because he chose IndyCar over NASCAR. And then you have Kyle Busch saying, look, he's doing more for motorsports than any other person in the world right now. What are we doing? You have Tyler Reddick saying, what are we doing? Leave it at that. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting situation, but
All right, let's take the 36 drivers. Let's sit down and take a vote.
and I mean Kyle Larson himself
He's your
was
competitor.
But we still need to have Hendrick file for one. Can't
They
do
did.
anything until Hendrick files.
They did.
When did they do that?
Glock posted that they filed on Thursday.
last Thursday. Yeah, last Thursday or Friday.
I missed it if they did then.
I mean, look, Glock posted something.
Yeah, now the next thing is they went through and started doing the Elliott files for waiver on May on like, April 1st gets waiver April 2nd.
So Kyle Busch, I want to touch on that one real quick. Yes, he went and chose to run Xfinity, but he got hurt in a race. Chase Elliott got hurt, but it was an outside activity. Another thing with Chase Elliott is he got a waiver after being suspended for a race for an on-track incident. Whereas the one thing that separates this from all those other scenarios is he whether it was him or Hendrick, whoever it was, made a decision for Larson to run the 500, another race versus the Cup race. The other thing too is that NASCAR has denied waivers in the past, and I don't think that's being talked about enough. But a lot of those denials have been because of sponsorship issues. So you don't even have a baseline of you have a baseline of waivers that have been denied, but are nowhere near this type of scenario.
Correct. And that's the case of Eric Jones. Already has a waiver. Which it's a little different scenario when you get hurt in a cup car during a cup race. But yeah, so someone tweeted update NASCAR confirms it has received a waiver request from Larson from Hendrick Motorsports and says no timetable for a decision to be made.
Oh, yep,
Glock
I see that
retweeted
now.
that and said it's Thursday night. The longer this goes on, the more concerning it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know where to stand on it. It's you got guys that are all over the place. Some don't want him to get a waiver because it helps them. Others are like he's the biggest name in one of the top 3 biggest names in motorsports in the world right now. Leave him alone. Take it or leave it. So
This sets the precedent of what NASCAR's decisions will be in the future.
correct. They've got themselves in a big corner. So obviously we'll be in tune with that situation on socials as that develops.
Got one other quick fast fact that I was going to drop at you. Some fun news last week. You mentioned that Spire truck, rotating truck. Big news. Clint Bowyer coming out of the booth and hopping behind the wheel of that Spire 7 at Nashville. So,
Yeah.
pretty exciting to have Bowyer back. He's always a hoot in the car or whatever he's driving. And then you look at some of the stats that they've thrown out about his finishes at Nashville, and he was a wheelman at Nashville. So, it'll be fun to see old Clint Bowyer back behind the wheel of something.
One more that I think we got to touch on. This is just we got to hit on a local boy, Luke Fennell's P10 in the truck race.
Sure.
Yep.
Wisconsin guy. Qualifying run there video I sent you boys didn't look promising there. A little back end, a little bit loose on exit. But solid run for him.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of Kyle Larson and Nascar, you want to kind of recap the cup race here for today?
We could recap
Yeah,
the first 199 laps or however many laps that race was, just not the last lap.
Okay.
well, while we're on it, let's jump right in. A little bit of a debate there. Kyle Busch was talking about Kyle Larson, biggest name in motorsports. What are we doing? Give him a waiver, and then Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson for a little spin together today. And it's I don't know if you guys saw the follow up, but Bush already said, "I'm sure it's my fault," and then Kyle Larson and his team are saying, "Yeah, he's racing you like a moron, pinching you on entry and racing you that close. Doesn't need to be when it's just you two." So
Hmm.
it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, obviously they're both already claiming it's not their fault, but um, Kyle Busch is Kyle Busch is going to be about him and Dylan versus the field the way it's going here.
Correct. Kind of other storylines as we look at what had gone on in the race. You just had quite a mixed bag of strategies. That's what it comes down to. You guys kind of short pitting, guys running stages long. Some taking refreshing to see two tire changes again.
Yep.
Finally see that be able to take a play in terms of the strategies involved. So yeah. I mean, what it comes down to is the last 20 laps. Is that what it comes down to, I guess?
Yeah, and I
It's
would say
30. Because
Yeah.
you had
yeah,
because Blaney and Bell were going at it for quite a while. Which that was a
yeah,
great battle.
yeah, that was fun to watch. One thing I was gonna say on this, just overall in the race, I mean, you heard it too across some of the radios. Just not a whole lot of passing. Wasn't the short track package, but it was kind of like that intermediate. Just wasn't a whole lot of passing.
Like
Um,
you had the discussion of the arrow block again.
yeah. So not a whole lot of passing movers and shakers, but you had was our time to shine again this weekend, boys, because pit road was really, I mean, that was your shot to make up some spots because after you rolled off, you had a chance on a restart, and after restart, it was kind of like you're riding around with where you're at.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, ultimately what it comes down to, the two big storylines out at the end of the race. Bell blows up down a cylinder or two, however you want to look at it.
How
Yeah,
about how about Truex coming in and helping out there a bit?
That was actually pretty sweet.
what a guy.
That's definitely, I mean, no bash on Truex, but it was surprised to see it out of Truex.
That didn't, because he was running second to last
Yeah,
with his tire issues. I mean, he had nothing. He had
nothing to
no
gain.
he had no skin in the game. He knew where he was going to finish. And even Bell mentioned in his interview, he goes, "Yeah, even Truex is pushing a bit." And he goes, "Yeah, Truex is he's that type of guy. He's just a
He's a
stand-up
stand-up
guy."
guy.
Yeah.
I
So
think too on the flip side, I mean he salvaged a seventh place finish out of it. So I mean that is whatever, but
Yeah.
you can see how dejected he was when he says you don't have cars like this very often. When you do, you need to win.
Yeah, and
So
he almost went back to back.
yeah, talk about momentum.
Almost was able to get his third. Oh no, wait, hold on. God, I can't read. I was gonna say, I think it's his third win on the
somebody's
year.
feeling pretty good about their fantasy pick there until that.
I was feeling really good about my entire fantasy team up until that last lap.
No, I'm talking about for the channel, our race pick.
Oh, that, yeah.
I picked Old Bell.
We all did pretty good on our race picks this week.
Yeah. Pretty solid. I mean, the other big storyline coming out of it is white flag.
What a way to lose it. I mean,
RYB.
golly.
Yikers.
Well, and it's like I was telling you guys before we got in. I mean, the only thing that couldn't have been is that he ran out of gas. And Blaney said that he ran out of gas. How something that had to happen that the car didn't get the correct amount of fuel.
Yeah.
Whether it was the gas man pulled too early, something got miscalculated, or something in the fuel, something in the fuel line clogged up or something.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's one of the two, either an intake issue or not the gas man getting enough fuel in it, because they said he pitted with 62 laps to go, and
Should have been fine.
They said a tank of fuel should go north of 70 laps.
There's no way you lose, call it 10 laps worth of gas.
Yeah.
In a run. So just, man, that sucks.
Heartbreak Hotel.
It was hilarious. I was listening to Krause's radio, obviously, and it's a blessing and a curse that it's 2 laps ahead than the TV. And there's 3 to go, and all of a sudden they're saying, oh, 12's out of gas, 12's out of gas, rolling on the bottom, 12's out of gas. And I'm like, I was like, no way is this about to happen.
Yeah.
But I think on the flip side of it, obviously, Penske had that strategy there where they all stayed out towards the end. And obviously just a solid day for Penske outside of that finish.
Yeah.
All 3 cars in the top 10. And I guess like Blaney said, you can look at it one way. At least if I didn't get the win, at least somebody on our team did. I think that
they've needed that to get right.
I mean, Cindric is a whole nother conversation. We put him on. Who do we
Hot
want to
seat
get
list.
who do we want to get a job? Or who do we want to stay around in NASCAR? Because then we should put him on blast, because it feels like the people we put on blast, the Suarez earlier this year, now we got Cindric, we put him on the hot seat. Could see in his interview, he's like, this team needed this win, and he said he needed it for his future. So
Yeah.
Couple of other runs that I want to talk about, or at least point out. Well, 3 of them really. Talk about a guy that struggled so far this season. Austin Dillon gets a 6th place run. Obviously this is all to be, unofficial as of now yet. Carson Holsevar gets a 8th place finish. He was running halfway decent last year before his brakes went out. For whoever he was running for, I forget who it was. Oh, it was in that 42, I think.
yeah,
Yep.
hard hit last year.
Yep. And then Justin Haley got a top 10 as well, finishing P9.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of which, we promoted it. Now that you're saying that, that probably was a bracket killer.
Oh, there was so many bracket killers today.
Truex and Haley. Who was Haley up against?
That's okay. Truex is my winner.
Rip. All right, so we had Dylan was against Truex today. We had Nemechek over Bowman. We had Gregson over Blaney. We had Cindric over Wallace. We had Logano over Briscoe today.
Those are all wrong for me.
Who was Haley up against?
I'm looking right now. He was up against Hamlin. Also, isn't it funny that Hamlin's the #1 seed?
Coincidence? I think not.
I mean, every time I look at Hamlin, I'm just like Mr. Consistent.
Yeah. You can put him in lineup any day of the week.
I like messing around with Kyle Larson, but I feel like he's boom or bust. Like he will.
Oh, he goes big or broke.
Yeah, he goes for the winner. There's no let's bring it home in second. He'll wreck going for the win and finish 34th, or he'll get the lead and win it.
Bring me the trophy or bring me the steering wheel.
Yep.
Yep.
Amen. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the race results. So currently, unofficially, as we're recording at 7:10 Central, post race, you have Cindric, Hamlin, Brad K, Reddick, Logano, Dillon, Bell, Hocevar, Haley, Larson round out your top 10. So, unofficial pending tech results for all of that, but that's where we currently sit. So when we look at the schedule itself, so other races that we've been kind of keeping an eye on, in terms of the weekend. So, Ricky Thornton Jr. wins Castro Full Racing Night in America at Macon. Everybody was pissed off at each other leaving that place, so that should go really well at Eldora. Extreme Outlaw Midgets at Dole Run, Cannon McIntosh, World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, one night of racing at Beaver Dam. Sheldon Haudenschild gets it done. You look down here, Cars Tour late model stock cars, Connor Hall in a finish of 0.007, 3 wide coming to the line. So, absolutely wild finish there for those guys. Shane, that we talked about with Portland for Xfinity. NASCAR Wheeler Modified at Seedconk, Matt Hirschman. Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series, Dalton Cook cashes a big paycheck for himself there. Truck Series was Corey Heim. NTT IndyCar Series, Scott Dixon, and then obviously we talked about Austin Cindric winning the Cup race. So
I got a point to make here. As from Jeff Gluck, as of 5 minutes ago, NASCAR put out its points report after this race. So I'm assuming tech is official if they've released points.
yep.
Kyle Larson is listed second in points, but now is shown with 0 playoff points. He had 17 coming into this race.
If they actually do this, I might boycott.
So
Yeah.
that's where we sit right now. Apparently I was trying to look it on NASCAR's website, which they probably won't have it updated yet, but that's per Jeff Gluck.
Okay. All right. There's that.
And I'm looking
Oh,
at the
boy.
handout. I'm looking at the handout that was given to everybody, and that is, I can confirm, playoff points 0.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
lose my shit if they do that to him.
So take it for what you feel like it's worth.
Okay.
But the win still stands as a playoff win from the looks of it. Either that or they're still counting. I mean, he's still second in points either way.
Unless they're going to come on with a little bit of a modified edition of this.
Yeah, so I would assume we have to see, because so Elton Sawyer is on NASCAR's the morning drive on Sirius XM every, I believe it's Tuesday morning. It's either Monday or Tuesday, one of the two. I'm sure that'll be a question that'll be asked, and we'll get a definitive answer from there.
Yep.
So I guess stay tuned to the socials.
We could be the first one to break the news that Kyle Larson's no longer going to be in the playoffs. Yikes. Well, on that lovely note, let's go ahead and look at some race previews for the weekend. Van Grohl, I'll kick it to you.
Tundra Super Late Models, another little touring series up here in Wisconsin. Obviously we're a little biased, especially myself, towards super late model racing in Wisconsin, but they are racing at Marshfield Motor Speedway this weekend for the Bev Ashenbrenner Memorial. Bev Ashenbrenner was just a huge figure in the super late model scene up here. She was basically everybody's mother when it came to racing in the pits around here. So just honoring a great lady, gone too soon. Tundra always puts on a good race. Marshfield's a flat half mile, so it's a little different type of racing there. So I will be boots on the ground there this weekend for that. Looking forward to Tundra Series.
Yeah, what do you got? Race 2.
Obviously, somebody deserves a pat on the back. Castro Flow Racing Night in America. Dirt late models. We're gonna just mention it right now. We always do say if you don't have Flow Racing, it is well worth the price that you're gonna pay. And this week, starting on Wednesday, you can get your money's worth for 4 nights of racing: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. With racing at Eldora. But this Wednesday the 5th, Castro Full Racing Night in America, coming to you live from the Big E at Eldora, and then followed up with another race, big races coming Saturday. World Outlaws, kind of on their Midwest tour swing here. Unfortunately, got rained out in Wisconsin, but they're heading to the Big O. I don't even know how to
Ogilville.
pronounce it. Ogilville.
Ogilvy.
Ogilvy.
Ogilvy,
Sorry, I thought there was
whatever.
another L in there.
They're heading to Ogilvy for Saturday the 8th. And then I think they'll head out a little bit further west to North Dakota for a little bit of a Midwest swing. So 2 races. One you can catch on Flow, Castro Flow Racing Night in America, whichever scheduled it on the same weekend as the Dream. Kudos. And then you can catch the World Outlaws on Dirt Vision.
Big ol'. That's Hot Carl's Lady in Black.
Yep.
Last little preview here for the weekend. So it is the 30th Dirt Late Model Dream at Eldora. So a little different format this year. They're going to split the field in half. Drivers can request said nights. Thursday night, 25 grand to win feature. Friday, 25 grand to win feature. Saturday, $100,030 to win dream feature. So I got a preview up and it's premiering on the YouTube channel already. So if you want to know when that's coming out, you can catch that now. See when that'll come out. But Davenport was your 2023 winner. So last little tidbit here on the schedule, Cam. What are the races we got coming up?
By the looks of it, dude, too many. Put my reading skills to the test. USAC NOS Energy Midgets, Circle City Raceway, High Limit Sprints, Davenport, boots on the ground for that one. Breaking news. Castro Flow Racing in America, Eldora, USAC, NOS Energy Midgets again, Gas City.
With the
sort of late
midgets, I'm going to
models.
save you a little bit. It's Indiana Midget Week for the USAC midgets. So they're basically racing all week.
Perfect. In Indiana, so we can skip those. With sort of late models. High limit again at I-70. Arkham Menard Series, Sonoma. Power I Sprints, I-70. Big 8 late models, Hawkeye Downs. Track Special, Eldora. Yeah. World Outlaw Sprints, we already touched on that. NASCAR Xfinity Series, Sonoma, Badger Minute Auto Racing, Sycamore Speedway, Wolfam Dirt Late Models, Winneshiek. Yeah, you name it. Formula One, Montreal, IndyCar Series, Road America, Wisconsin. So you name it. Obviously, it's highlighted by the big dog at the Big E, the Dream. So I know I'm looking forward to that this week. It's just Eldora puts on fantastic racing. It's awesome. It's fun. A lot of different lines, and so pumped up for that. But yeah, we're gonna have boots on the ground at a couple different locations this week, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so as Cam mentioned, Van Grohl and I, we are temporarily planning to be there for the high limit race at Davenport. I just looked, it's currently an 80% chance of rain. That could change.
Don't say the R word.
It could change, but as of right now, we have tickets, and if they race, we will be there. So we are planning to be there. So if this feature does run, we are going to do a little vlog, a little day in the life of travel, and getting there and going in and feature racing and heat racing and whatever else that goes with being at this high limit feature. We're going to bring you like a quick 5-minute blast of all the highlights of it. So stay tuned for that. That'd be a pretty cool deal. We did a little trial run this weekend. We got the kinks worked out, I think. We got a few things figured out.
We'll get an Emmy-worthy video out again, pending, but we'll hopefully get a Emmy-winning video sent out later this week.
Yep, you got her. So, kind of the last little touch of business here we got before we wrap up the schedule or the podcast for the week. Unofficially, why don't we go ahead and just do a quick weekly recap of fantasy because the finals overalls have not been calculated. So, Van Grohl, you're the fantasy mastermind.
Yeah, so interesting week overall. I will showboat here a little bit. I could have had a better score, even though I did win this week. Blaney's last lap fiasco definitely didn't help. I see you, Cam. Abby had a good running as well. First off, I had 236 points. Abby had 224. Let's see. Carolyn had 220. Kellen, you had 213. Cam, you had 107 or 172. Dietz had 126, and Kurt Busch Stan had 124. Very interesting week. I think between Truex's deal, pit strategy and whatnot, I think it shook up everybody's schedules. I think everybody had one driver that didn't do too hot or missed a few pick'ems here and there. But no, overall, just another solid week. By my math and my history, that should also increase my lead a little bit on the overall standings.
Hey,
there it is. And you mean it.
unbelievable.
I haven't gotten a chance to update our race picks one because obviously we were waiting for results to get official. So hopefully we can get an update sent out possibly later this week as far as where our race pick standings are at.
But as they finished, we can go ahead and pick some Sonoma race winners temporarily.
Well, these will be our picks for Sonoma.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Sonoma.
So
That's what I mean. Yeah, our race picks for Sonoma pending tech for today. But Cam, you had another rock solid week, so go ahead.
Chase Elliott.
Ooh.
Wow, that was quick.
Well, I'm glad you took that one actually, because my first pick is on the board. Then I am going to go with MTJ, Martin Truex Jr.
Won't repeat.
Question.
Real hard to figure out Van Grohl's picking strategy. Google 2023 race results. Whoever won it, that's who he picks.
Is our main man SVG in the 16 this week? No, what? No, don't worry about it. I got Dinger.
You could just pick the colleague 16 because it's going to be him or I would assume Dinger's in it.
Yeah, I'll take the colleague 16. Insert
Whoever's in
driver
it.
here.
Okay.
A lot of faith in the old colleague team.
Yep.
After Kraus had a solid run.
So yeah.
The only thought I have with that, and I guess this will be up for discussion between myself and Cam, is if
I'm not concerned about the colleague 16, so there's no discussion.
Well, no, that's not my point.
You could throw you in there. You could throw SVG. You could throw Dinger. You could throw Juan Pablo Montoya in there. I don't care who's in the 16.
Hold on, I'm checking on something here quick. Okay, so you do score points in that 16 card. That's what I was looking at. Yeah. If the 16, if they score points, so all right, we're all right then.
Yep. So, all right, race picks are in. There you got it. So that kind of wraps up the 37th edition for the Tuesday Track Talk. Again, we always appreciate anybody that likes, listens, subscribes. If you're looking for somebody or you have a friend that's like, man, I want to follow racing, but I don't know where to follow, Twitter's got the QR code. It's as simple as can be. So show them the QR code. You got it from there. But again, pending the weather for Davenport. Stay tuned for an epic 5-6 minute little recap of what will be the high limit race on Tuesday night at Davenport. We are planning to be there, but again, as always, hit the bell, hit subscribe. You'll be in tune with all of the race previews that come out for the weekend, and you can count on it every single week. You'll get another edition of the Tuesday Track Talk. But until then, we'll see y'all next week.